Yeah, so in 2015, there was something that all cars had to have programmed into them. And I thought it was something along the lines of a kill switch.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
it was 2030. I don't remember it being 2015. Hell, I read about it well after 2015.
I just remember because I had a 2005 little project car at the time, and I would brag, this one doesn't have the 2015 thing in it. What is it?
I'm looking it up. Define.
Ask Grok.
2015 sounds like such a simpler, better time.
What they discovered was that this bill includes a measure that mandates automakers install vehicle backdoor kill switches in every car by 2026.
Hmm.
And this is on a lawyer's, some type of law firm's website. Well, I had a doctor's appointment this morning, just normal routine checkup yearly. And that process is changing so quick. Like all of our independent doctor's offices in this area have all been bought up by this conglomerate called Meritus. And it is such a stale experience to go to the doctors. And of course, she turning 50.
What, they didn't give you a lollipop this time?
No lollipops. No. Instead, I got stank eye because I'm behind on my flu, COVID, RSV, and shingles vaccines.
Yeah. Listen, I don't want to get shadow banned by YouTube. We're gonna get flagged.
Well, don't worry, we got Facebook and LinkedIn
too.
You're
right. Yeah, by Meta. You say those words wrong, we will have no viewers.
I'm like, what? You're all worried about that. What about my colon check?
How about the fact that most of your PIIs get stolen through all the medical information aggregators that don't have safeguards on them like dealerships do?
Very true.
They need a CDK, huh?
Well, that's to make it worse, sure.
Well, on that note,
happy Friday.
Here we are. Well, Matthew, welcome back.
Thank you. It's always fun to be hanging out on a Friday with you guys.
We're going to have to do a little rewind from the last time you were here. I'll come back to that, but
I don't even remember, but yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, you had a great theory, I should say, that was just
let's go.
Phenomenal. I'll help remind you of it.
Okay.
And Dan, welcome to Dealer Refresh.
Thank you. When I feel like I'm what an honor to be here. I feel like I'm out of place. Look at these guys here around me.
No. Not at all. If you're okay with Matthew, you're okay with us.
Okay. All right. Then the bar of entry is that low. Then I'm good. All right.
Well, a little admission before we get going. We did no prep work with these two. We came up with no questions. We did nothing. And we did come up with some stuff on our own, but we didn't run it by them at all. So everything these two are getting today is fresh in their face, and we are fully expecting y'all to be as raw and aggressive and however you wish to answer these, but I'm hoping you're just
that's how Alex likes it.
Well,
raw and aggressive.
Okay.
Sounding more and more like a bachelor party. All right, cool.
Well, hey, it is Friday. So why don't we start with the IRS? Because we're all big fans, I'm sure. And anybody who's been following what's been going on recently, you'd know that our country tried to hire 90,000 new IRS agents. And then that was recently put the shabash on. And then I think today, or was it yesterday, the mass layoffs of what was remaining at the IRS has begun. And there's how many thousands of IRS employees are being laid off?
Like another 6,000 today or the other day.
I mean, yeah, think
No
about
more
that.
taxes.
Man, I am looking for so many technicians, and we have such an aggressive ad out there. So maybe I don't know.
That's a good point.
Can they fix a car?
I don't know. You can sharpen a pencil. Can you turn a wrench? I don't know.
I had a government
I think
job.
the irony of it,
Probably wouldn't count on it.
I think the irony of it was it's like people that were hired, yeah, like your point of the people that were hired to make it more efficient and then fired to make it more efficient. And so something about that wasn't efficient. And then,
Something.
depending, I don't know, it's kind of easy. You've got I forget, there was a professor from I think it was from Yale that was saying basically for every dollar that it costs the IRS to go on high level collection activities, that they average about $12 back in what they get, costing them $1 to do it, getting $12 on average back. And that's like both a great and frightening statistic. So I don't know, I don't know what side of it you want to fall on.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, the question I think we should focus in on, because we're all in the car business, is this going to come, or is this going to affect us in April when we typically get those rebate checks coming in as down payments?
I haven't received a rebate check in 20 years.
Same.
So has no effect on me whatsoever.
I mean, if
my customers didn't file till October.
Yeah, there's that.
I at the same time, I also heard that DOGE is going to send out like $5,000 DOGE rebate checks. So
yeah, I have a feeling that's a horrible rumor.
No, Trump said it.
It could be.
No,
I believe I see it.
He found over $100 billion, and they want to send 20% of it to pay down the debt and 20% back as rebates to the American people.
There you go. $5,000 down. Let's go.
It's a nice down payment.
Nice down. I the fine print was though, like Teslas only, right?
Right. Yeah. Is that your cheat code? Is if you own multiple Teslas? There's going to be a new referral thing on the Tesla app, so you can also just make sure that you direct line to the IRS through the Tesla app.
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, I think it will. Obviously, I mean, that's a big worry. If nothing else, it's already affecting it because our customers are already wondering if it's going to affect them. Right. So like in and of that self, there's something already, there's a ripple, and we don't know good, bad, or indifferent, but it's making people think about something that they normally don't have to think about. And that's, so it's on us probably, and perhaps also on us to then figure out ways where they don't have to plan on that. And figure out, hey, we're coming to you in anticipation that maybe this will be a thing. So here's how we're going to combat that. If it's a thing, if it's not a thing, no worries. But here's either way you don't have to worry about it. So if it creates worry, then our job could be to show them how this doesn't need to affect their purchasing power. And on a personal note, that I really wish that like the kind of attention to making things efficient and working better, maybe this is just me, but I really wish that they would start with the VA. And it didn't have to be the IRS would be the first thing, but for us that's for doing good in the world. So I don't know where that goes, but for us in the business, if it's going to be a worry, just like EV rebates, incentives, if they go away, or if manufacturers wind up, incentivizing the cars as opposed to the IRS, depending on which side the swing is on. If we think we're going to be losing the incentives, then we've got to be making sure that we get as many people into the cars before the incentives go away. And and on used car incentives, used car EV incentives, and then also, So if it creates urgency and we can show that we can somehow help you mitigate that in a nice and easy fashion, then that's the best I think we could do with it.
Question for you all: what is your EV mix on the used side right now?
I mean, you guys know I'm a Polestar dealer. I love selling new and pre-owned electric vehicles. So it's not fair. We're one of my stores is brand dedicated EV, and the pre-owned market is doing tremendously well. And it's a combination of a couple things. There are a huge pool of customers that are looking for the $4,000 incentive, and all they care about is looking for vehicles under that 24.9 threshold to get them there. But you're also seeing a big percentage of rideshare and people that are using these cars for stuff like Uber or Uber Eats delivery service, because those companies are incentivizing their customers. They want their drivers driving EV. So yeah, I think it's healthy, and to go off what you were talking about, kind of like with your DOGE IRS thing, we're already seeing a lot of anti-Tesla sentiment where people are looking for EV alternatives to Tesla.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it's pretty healthy.
What about you, Jeff? Do you guys have any EVs in the used inventory?
One or two.
Not if you can help it.
And yeah, not if we can help it. Pretty much.
I'll be the alter ego.
Unfortunately, I don't know if it's location or what, but they've been a hard sell for us here. But again, you got to look at the price point. Our cheapest EV new off the lot's probably high 60s, with the average being in the 80,000 area. So it's definitely a different market for sure. But the EVs that we probably do have on the used car lot are our service, because we have put a handful of the EVs in our service loaner vehicles. So we'll take them out of that program and stick them on the used car lot. So that's typically how we get them. We did just trade in a Tesla. It was, what's the one with the gull wing doors?
Model X.
Yeah. Model X. And we would typically turn around and sell it, but instead we auctioned it off and made out probably way better than what we would have had we retailed it.
Huh.
Yeah. If Mercedes still lets you, when you putting a car in the loaner, if you lease it to the business, do a 24-month one pay to the business, so then that way you don't have to take it back in as a car to sell. Mm-hmm. And then you basically that's your write down as a 24-month one pay. You break it out however you want over the course, and then that way it goes back to MBFS instead of having to be a used car, because maybe things have changed. I hope they have, but I don't know that you can outrun the depreciation on a typical on any type of write down scale for maybe an EQB, but anything else is going to be pretty difficult to write down and keep up with the depreciation, the actual depreciation of it.
Yeah, I used to have my finger on that quite a few years ago, but I know they made a few adjustments to that program. So I wouldn't be able to respond with authority on that. But yeah, I'll have to check into that. I do know we do very well with our service loaner program vehicles. Very well. And we do a decent job marketing them as well. And the good thing is they're a great deal because they're really not. They're sort of new, but they're not used, but they're new. Yeah. Basically, you can apply new car incentives to those vehicles.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I love the fact that the market. I love the fact that the market beats up on luxury EVs, because they make it a great deal. I mean, it makes it a great deal when it's a new car, and it makes it an even better deal. You start out, the lower price point EVs, that are $50,000 to $60,000 to begin with, that then become $30,000-ish to when they're used. Obviously, that puts it in a great price point for a set of consumers for that, and puts it into a good category. But the EVs that are $200,000 to begin with, or $180,000 to begin with, that become $60,000, right? Like that's the essence of used cars. Like that just becomes a great deal. And I'm
Yep.
fully, absolutely driving EV myself from a brand that I never thought I'd get into yet because of just how massive the discounts were on the front end of it. And it's a great car to drive. So I just keep telling my sales guys, like, listen, as long as when my lease is up and you guys still have actually a 6-month pull ahead, so I'll actually only wind up having this car for like 18 months. And as long as the market continues to hate these cars and they're still being incentivized, I will take another one.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Well, Alex, you're in the same position.
Well, yeah, we did that. And now like I hear them pulling up right now, but my mother-in-law was like, she was a little concerned about her car. And so we went on and looked at the dealer that we got our little EV from. And the deal that they've got right now is even more insane than it was when we got ours. So it's a $57,000 sticker price EV, $1,995 down, $195 a month, all taxes and tags included.
And there's some guy at a Nissan dealership right now with an Aria going, "You're overpaying by $100 a month. Come talk to me."
Right. It's wild.
How could damn? So they sweeten the deal even more?
Yeah, it's the top of the line one now. So we didn't get the top of the line, and I think we paid a little bit more than that. So, yeah.
Are these questions at the bottom of the screen going by? Are these?
Oh, no. Those are topics that are on our forums right now.
Oh, okay.
But you're welcome to opine on any of them. You want to talk about some SEO keyword stuffing? We can do that.
I mean, it is an important topic. AccuTrade replacement. I was curious about that because Matt and I had been looking at some options, and AccuTrade was one of them. So we saw their new revised platform, and then the pilot for their inventory management system. I saw that yesterday. Matt will see that next week. I was really impressed. AccuTrade's thing in my world had been like a great appraisal tool, a great way to build value with your clients, very well integrated. I made a service appointment for my car, and the email that I got from the dealership had already a code for me to scan to start my appraisal because they already have the VIN and the miles and they know what I'm in for service for. And so it was like a passive introduction to it. I love all that technology they had, but it was just an appraisal tool, a very good one. But then, you still needed something for inventory management. And I think they've really done a great job of that because they are the marketplace in a lot of it. So their data they have for competitive set is great. And I think, was it a week ago, we looked at VinQ, which was awesome also. But I guess my question would be, what's bothering you? What is bothering you about AccuTrade to know best where to point you? But I think between AccuTrade and VinQ, like those are really impressive products that are on the scene, coming onto the scene stronger, and really impressed with what they're doing. My opinion from what I saw. And Matt, I think you liked what you saw from VinQ also.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's so much change happening right now, and it's nuts. It's nuts. So we're just trying to stay on top of it.
I think where the pushback you were questioning there, Dan, is coming from some used car managers that were very, 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 very comfortable with vAuto. So they were forced to go over and try out AccuTrade, and it wasn't vAuto.
I mean, I guess the question would be more about like, why vAuto? Without looking at the other options, right? And just because we're comfortable looking at the screen, I talk to just as many dealers that want to get away from that ecosphere, which it lives in, and want to see fresh data, want to look at something differently. The thing I love about those two other products is they really stress about the time since the vehicle has last been retailed. And, I know when I was an auction rat going to auctions back in the day, that, it was like, there's always like, if the car's got more than one sticker on the windshield, just walk past it. But when Carfax it, like, see if it's just been making rounds at the auction, if it's just gotten aged everywhere and gone back to an auction, like we don't want that. On the appraisal side, being able to understand, really, if you look at a car, the dealership you're looking at might have only had it for 10 days. So it looks like, oh, it's a fresh car, but really it's been 6 months since it's been retailed to an end user. And I think Cars has data on that. I'm sure Kramer's spoken about it. X percent of all the cars online actually haven't been retailed to an end user in 6 months. And so I think that's a good way to look at a better way to look at the lens, right? Because
again, it manipulates the market day supply. It shows a car with a super market day supply, but it's not to an end user.
So I don't want to say that market day supply is a myth, but I do think that the way that we've come to understand market day supply isn't really inclusive of all the truths and the reality of it. And what you see in Viato, which is obviously a great product, which has helped a lot of dealers. I've been as a Viato user for a very long time, and nothing against that, but it lives in its ecosphere, and it's pointing you towards the data that it has the way that it wants to show it to you, right? And I think the other thing that's interesting too is what companies are able to suppress inventory from being counted in samples, right? So does all Carvana inventory show up in the data sets that you're looking at, or are they suppressed from the data sets you're looking at in the back end? Same thing, from Asbury, and are you really seeing the total set of cars that's out there, or are you being shown what you're being shown and imagining then and then really just for your own sanity, you're like, well, that's the market because that's what I see here.
Good point.
I gotta say, I learned this the real hard way when we introduced our CRM at dealer.com. The comfort of desk managers is very hard to overcome.
Right. Well, even and just the comfort of salespeople going to the desk is right. I mean, we had that discussion today, actually. Use LumaQuote. Like, you don't have to. Like, you can certainly on the used car. There's nothing stopping you from defending the price, showing the market, working the deal right then and there. If your client can do it from home, there's no reason you can't do it in the dealership. But there is some type of almost like parental, like maternal relationship about, like, I have to go to the desk. Like, I don't know what happens there, but I just feel good if I go there. It's a good thing. I just need to go there, even if it's not great when you go there, right? But it's like the tractor beam that sends me there. Where salespeople have the ultimate ability to do that. I mean, it's turned on, right? But sometimes they just want that type of reassurance. So there's a lot of comfort, but you seek discomfort and find growth is kind of how I look at it.
That's right. Yep. The best way to improve is to be uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah. I saw there's another one that someone was asking about TikTok, which I'm like, yeah, there it is. Any dealers using TikTok? I mean, oh my God, please do. Please do. I mean,
yeah,
just one of the things when you're going through the showroom, and how many of your employees are on TikTok when they're at work, right? So, like, then that just goes to show you it is not right. It's an amazing recruiting tool. I mean, that's a fantastic recruiting tool with a really low cost to hire, and it's absolutely consumable content if you're putting the right content on there. But I think that also provides you. I think their algorithms are the best. I think their free editing that they have inside the app. I mean, really doesn't think about something that just doesn't cost you pretty much anything to get up and running, like, and have real grassroots effect on both clients you're trying to attract as well as talent you're trying to attract to the dealership. Like, I'm 2 thumbs up on that one.
I heard yesterday. I've read yesterday. I think they are releasing a platform for dealers specifically for advertising on TikTok.
Advertising network on TikTok. Yeah, it was in automotive news yesterday.
Okay, I remember seeing something about it.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, these Refresh Friday shows, we clip them, and so it can be anywhere from 14 seconds to 3-minute long clips. And we started putting them on TikTok 3 weeks ago, a month ago. Like, we've been holding out, but we finally started putting them up there, and the amount of views that they're already getting, and we have done nothing. There's no money behind it, nothing. Is blowing my mind. Like, The speed
Love
in
it.
which just took off. Like, it took us years to get to the point we're at on TikTok in a month, where versus Facebook it took years to get to that point. It's crazy.
Yeah. But you also wonders like how much of that, I mean, is that legit? I mean, not to take away from it by any measure, but
There are comments coming in too, Jeff.
yeah, you
So
showed me
yeah,
one.
most of it, the
Yeah.
comments have been car dealers.
Cool.
Remember
Yeah.
the benefits with social media in the first place, right? Is the art of you want this but you don't have it, right? It's envy generating already, right? And it's, can I live this, can I envision this lifestyle? Or I mean, just think about all the behind the scenes footage that like TikTok is if you want to see behind the scenes from anywhere from a stripper in Anchorage, Alaska, to a crane operator in Tokyo, Japan, to a scuba diver in Key West, like they all have, there's technicians that are on there that are showing, what am I doing to your car? What happens when your car goes into service, and there's a lot of traction that goes along with that, and people become, that creates a connection. And don't forget that when you're communicating with somebody on social media, like, you're talking to the decision maker, you're talking to the person holding the phone is the person who's looking at your product, looking at your service, and you can engage with them directly. So if you took out the word social media, and I'm just telling you, there's a way to show the most genuine things about your product directly to somebody and have a one-to-one communication with them as they're looking at it, then you'd be like, yeah, I'll sign up for that. Sure, that sounds great. And then you're like, okay, cool, it's free. Yeah, and take your pick between Meta and TikTok, or really ideally use both of them. And don't forget that you don't need to get into paying money to promote it, because the algorithm with good enough content itself will do that. And Matt was making a really good point to the sales staff today, because we're talking about the videos that they're sending, that just throughout the course of the day that they're sending to clients. It's like,
I literally, yeah. No, go.
do a good video, and that's content. So stop thinking of it just as videos that you're sending. I mean, what's the difference? Like, we talk about videos that we send from the dealership, and then we talk about content that you want to upload to social media. Think of it all as content, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you do a great lead response. You do a great proposal that you're sending to somebody, right? You do a great, here's your car just arrived from port. If you think of that as content, it'll make, obviously that video is going to be a lot better than what you're sending to your client. B, the double impact is you get to upload that to your social media channel, and you've done it because you had to do it. You did it for the client already. Now you're doing it for yourself on social media. So it's like, and again, it doesn't cost you anything to do it.
We've spent the whole month trying to re-engage our team on video, and they just think of it as one dimensional, as like just having this video conversation in front of the computer with their customer. And I was just trying to share with them today, no, don't think about it. Like, have fun, interact, bring your sales manager into the video for the TO, and then take all this content and just post it and let people see you and let them rate it. And I think we got through to some people, and I'd like to see it. But again, it's just like, there's so much at their fingertips to become like masters and have all this content and just share it. So
yeah, we were trying to.
Yeah.
It'd been a 12-hour day yesterday, and we're sitting at closing time here in Inglewood, and we couldn't leave because Matt wanted to get his video perfect, and just sending a thank you video to a client.
How many shoots does it take?
He's actually an he's an ex-congressman that I entered for, and it was like he's buying his fourth car from me, so I had to shoot him a thank you video.
That whole everything you just said, Dan,
or anyone at the dealership,
is a perfect example of why TikTok was demonized in this country. It's because, this is a theory. I don't know this for a fact, but this is what I believe. TikTok did the algorithm and did the service better than anyone else, did it better than Instagram, did it better than Facebook, did it better than YouTube Reels, all of it. And it became a threat. So they turned their lobbying power against it.
I mean, all of, the conclusion is of anyone to make. So, I mean, I'm not going to contradict anything you said, because all the circumstances you said are absolutely right. I mean, and they are, and it still is. And dealerships that need to, I mean, the great thing about it is like, you know, when internet first came around, right, then that was, and it really started taking hold in dealerships, right? Then that was the idea, is like, you're on a global marketplace, and it doesn't matter where you're at now, because everyone has internet and you can ship cars anywhere. And not to pick on the endemic websites, but really when you go on them and you go on one of those sites to look for a car, you go to search for a new or used car, how is it displayed to you by default? In a radius of your zip code. So here's the thing on the internet that's supposed to be helping us sell cars on the internet, and it's still based on the old philosophy of how close I am to the dealership. And some people are in areas where their local population is sparse, but there's still a dealership and they can still sell cars anywhere. So then you take something, you know, in this example, like TikTok, that's engaging you with people that would be interested in that and that would want to watch that. Your job is to make it so that they'll make it past 20 seconds, which if you can do that, by the way, you've done a remarkably good job, right? But then you've taken what you have in, doesn't matter where you are, United States, and you're engaging people, and it doesn't matter the size of your store. I mean, it's truly the essence of what should be great about the internet. It doesn't matter the size of your store. It doesn't matter the franchise. It doesn't matter where you're at. If you actually, it's the human capital, the content that you create, put it out there, and then the platform will match it with people that want to see it, and giving you a better shot to talk to them than waiting for a lead to come in from someplace that's going to tell the client that this car is one you should look at first because it's closer to you.
3 great examples of pulling that off. One is Matthew. During the pandemic, you guys were shipping cars all over the country. Another person who's watching the show right now is Bill Vaughn. They have been using AutoSled like champs recently, and shipping cars all over the place. Maybe his former store. He's got a new one going on now. But and then there's Carvana, who, you know, their stock price is through the roof. It's baffling dealers. They just showed that they were averaging $6,200 a copy on, you know, and when you start to peel that onion, what they're selling is a customer experience. You know, that's what people are talking about. They're not selling a better vehicle. It's not a better product.
No.
It might be a worse product.
No, it is. I mean, with Carvana,
it's Tesla also, by the way. Right? I mean, it's Tesla also, by the way, right? They're not a luxury car. They're just the process. I mean, anyone who hasn't gone on their phone right now and gone to Tesla, and I mean, once a month, go to Tesla.com and go and order a car and see if it doesn't take you more than 3 minutes to do it. And that's the same thing. They're not telling you it's any, and in a lot of ways, it's not a better car than the one that you can go get somewhere else. Just the process was better or easier or whatever. And sorry, Matt, I cut you off.
No, I say it all the time, and we still have not cracked that code. They make it so easy to buy a car. I'm always checking Cybertruck. Like when Cybertruck gets to a certain play, like that's my new parts fan. Hell yeah, you know, I'll wrap that thing. You know, when it gets to with $399 a month, I'll take a Cybertruck.
That's such a great idea. I can't wait for that.
Okay, good.
I mean, the thing. I mean, so Carvana, just on 2 things with Carvana, right? So tie that back to the endemics. What did Carvana do? Is they were the first ones to reach the agreement with cars to be able to say that no matter what car you're looking for, their car will show up as saying like this could be close to you, right? And so they beat out all the dealers based on where the dealer was, because any car that they had, they gamed the system better because they asked the question and paid the money and got their inventory in front of everybody else. And there's a lot of questions about AI, which said a couple of things on, but one of the amazing things that I wish I knew more about was the Carly system that they developed with Oracle at Carvana, which on their earnings call is what they're attributing the ability for them to cut 600 jobs, to become more efficient. Their time to market's like less than 2 days, to know what the recon is the minute and order everything the minute the car is purchased. All of this done through an AI system that I would just be a kid in a candy store if I could get to see it and how it really works. But apparently it's called Carly, and apparently that's what they're saying is making them so much more efficient, so much faster, and giving a lot of credit to their retained profit.
Wow.
I'm still stuck on you wanting a Cybertruck as your parts truck. I mean, you know what? It could be brilliant in New Jersey.
Yeah,
I know. Well, if you put a sticker on it that says, "If you hate Elon, buy a Polestar," and
Oh my God. All right. I got co-op. We're doing
He's
this.
got it now.
Let's go. I am going to get a letter from Sweden. Whenever I get on a podcast, I get a letter from Sweden and they come down and they talk to me. They're going to make me take the Polestar logo off the Cybertruck. So we're going to have to come up with a new logo.
But you have to wrap it anyway. Otherwise,
I'm
it's just
going to wrap
stainless
it.
steel.
Yeah, we're just we'll take Polestar logo right center. Yeah, we're doing this. Okay. This is the best marketing idea ever.
I highly advise you drive that thing around Vermont too. You will pick up a lot of customers.
Follow me to Polestar if you hate Elon. Oh my God.
Yeah, hit all those blue states up.
I'm going to get my phone right now. Hold on. Let me.
I think the parts driver should write basically like, I didn't want this, but we hate Tesla and my owner made me take it.
You ever see those billboards like "We buy ugly houses" and it's like, and then there's a dentist that's like "Your wife is hot" or something like. Oh no, it's air conditioning.
Yeah, the dentist one that says "Your wife is hot" is a whole other.
Yeah, no, it's
Florida. I read about that.
Your wife is hot. All right, good. All right, we trademark that. You try to copy me, anyone, we're gonna come after you.
Well, Polestar is going after Matt. Yep.
I love the AI. I wish the person that asked the question about AI car shopping would, ask more about it, because that's so relevant. One of the things, a little bit on the topic that I was talking to Matt and a couple other stores this week about was, if your device, if you've signed up, so if you signed up for Apple Intelligence, if you have an Android, you did something, but it's summarizing your text messages, it's summarizing your emails. And so so then you get basically a recap of your emails, or the preview that comes across from your email has that like italic script, and it summarized the body of the email for you. And there's summaries for everything, right? So I think this is an interesting turning point, because AI has always been this thing about making everything easier. And in this case, yeah, it's making it easier to scan your emails. What I'm flashing an early warning sign on is that it's going to put that much more emphasis on how you're constructing texts and emails to your customers and sending it to them, now that the phone is absolutely summarizing it based on the rules that that AI, be it Apple Intelligence or the others, have for summarizing the email. And if the email doesn't really look relevant, you're going to get, and you should see it, try it in your own phone and just see what it looks like when you get, not great advertising promotions from a company and when you get really good ones. See the difference in how it summarizes the email for you, because, there's ones that I'm looking at where it's like right now, it's like, discover the new flowers at Venus at Fleur. No, I don't know if I want to discover those, right? And then there's another one that says that such and such company appreciates you being a great customer and is offering you 25% off if you've shopped this weekend, new arrivals, something, right? So it's like the way it looks, and you can look up and you can read different schools of thought on how those algorithms work to summarize the email. If it's too generic, if it's too personalized, even, it has to be personalized and it has to bring value. The two things that I figured out is it has to be personalized and it has to bring value, but it has to be within like the first paragraph, basically, of the email. And not at the end, not through the body of it. It's like rethinking how you're actually writing what you're saying to people. And it's not a bad thing, because you honestly are just bringing more value up front, and you're making it about the person that you're actually sending the email to, and not just a general one. So I don't know what the full adaptation rate is of all the Apple Intelligence devices and everyone who's got it working and things like that, but it's out there. I mean, I have it, and I think it's only going to increase. So if you're wondering why those types of communications have become less and less effective, that's one of the reasons. It isn't just because of the summary, but it's a good lesson in the first place to make things more personalized and bring more value to them.
I have it on text, and it's okay right now, but I can't put it on email because there's too many emails that are confidential in nature. There's stuff in them, from a vendor perspective, or even if OEM's listening and whatnot. There are things that you probably don't want Apple finding out that you're working on, or who knows what, because who owns that idea?
Right. I mean, I would assume Apple.
That's still a big question
in general.
out there.
Yeah.
Well,
right. Yeah. Where does my data go?
Yep.
But for at the store, I mean, it's just one more thing to reinforce, why you have to be intentional about if you're going to send somebody. Is if we, in general, if we could stop it, it's like I joke because at my stores and what I was talking to Matt's team about was like, it was just out of bounds language to call somebody and say, I'm just checking in, I'm just following up, or do you have any questions? And those are just bottom of the barrel. And it's like, what questions do you want me to have? I don't know. And what do you want me to? The only one is, can it be cheaper? Right. And I'm just following up. Like, okay, that sounds like this is more of a you thing than a me thing. Right. And so I hope you feel better about just following up. I don't know what that did for me.
The following up came from the manufacturer because when they started hammering that follow-up question, it was like, this is your follow-up. Like, I think that's where that was born out of. But it's absolute trash.
And
you know
so
what
how
works
can I be
really well though on the follow-up side? So we had a sales agent at our Honda store, and this was years ago, and we finally, when CRMs could finally track emails, actually you could email out of the CRM, but he was getting the most, like the highest open rates, but no responses. I was like, what is going on with Doug's emails? And all of his subject lines were, I just want to F you. And then he said in the body, I was just emailing to follow up. But it was just,
Capital F, capital U.
everything got opened. Yeah. Near 100% open rate.
Wow.
Well, I mean, you want to like really think about inversion thinking. So all of the compliance test emails that we have to send out in our stores, right, to the phishing examples to see like who's going to click on it, right? And I don't think I've ever seen it be like 100% where nobody clicks on it. Like there's always at least somebody they'll click on it, even if you say like there's going to be a phishing email coming, like don't click on any links, but like people can't help themselves, right? So like those emails are your best clue as to what gets people to open up emails. And because it is personalized, it is dramatic, and it definitely looks like something you should read. Even more so, it looks like something you should click on, right? So compliance-wise, we look at making sure you don't click on links. But in the marketing world, we want to see what's our click-through rate. I think in the scammers world, they have a pretty high click-through rate.
Alex, we used to do this all the time. Who was the website we were ripping off, and we were making these nasty, like the ugliest ads? What was it, like Jan's Cars or Jan's
Lings
Cars? And I mean, this is proof of concept. But like, we would come up with the nastiest looking ads, and they converted so well compared to the OEM tier 3 crap that was so pretty. Nobody even clicked on it, but we came up with just an ugly looking car. Yeah, exactly. Oh, she's cleaned it up.
Yeah,
she's
cleaned
it
up.
up.
Yeah, I think they're carrying both. There's two sides to the website. There's the old scrappy original, and there's a new cleanup.
Would that be the museum? Ah, yes.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yes.
We had Ling on. She was amazing. She came
awesome.
on Refresh Friday once. She's kind of like retired and is traveling the world on a bicycle now.
That is awesome.
She's fantastic.
She's done with that now.
Killer.
Oh, what is this? Oh, thought they actually had real cars here for sale. Get a DeLorean and a Scooby mystery. Oh, but I remember let's see. She had back when it was all the rage to show your live site visitors.
Oh yeah,
They would all dance around, and this site was amazing. Yeah, this is a little.
She's an innovator.
No.
Yep, that's right. She bought here's her Cybertruck. She bought a truck and then put a missile on top of it and drove it all around England.
That is nuts.
Oh,
that's nuts.
That's one way.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yep. Well, speaking of something I think was brilliant, it was a good theory you had last time you were on, Matt, and I wanted you to share it again because I think it would be great for people to hear it again. You were talking about your theory on why incentives have not been as strong as they were prior to 2020. And the rise of domestic Chinese vehicle impacting all the other manufacturers. Does that ring a bell now?
100%. I mean, right now it is scary. It's super scary. I mean, so I was out with a friend earlier this week. They live in Panama, the country Panama, with that canal.
With our canal?
Yeah, with the canal. And he was just saying how, all his peers are now driving Chinese cars in Panama. And he says they're like direct copies of like a Land Rover or a Taycan, and they're amazing and they're cheap. And then at the same time, he was sharing how there's also importers that are importing German EVs that are Chinese spec from China to Panama and still able to sell them in Panama for like 50% off. I mean, so right now, I mean, like it's just insane. And, all these companies made all their money in China. And that market now is just all about, domestic native Chinese brands. And the positive, I think, is now they need to focus on this market to be successful because it's all about this market now. These companies are still driven by volume. They're losing the Chinese volume, and of course that's hurt their stock and their earnings. But I mean, they have to make it up somewhere. And we could sell cars to the U.S. and we could get a crazy SAR going. So I think it's just a crazy time. But I think optimistically, like they need U.S. to work. Every manufacturer needs to crank volume in the United States. So I think I'm pretty optimistic about long term. It's just near term right now. It's just everyone is just trying to figure out between the tariffs, the rules, China, and that's why I think the first 45 days of the year have been so challenging and it's been so quiet is because our manufacturers are trying to figure out a game plan. I mean, they will need to sell cars. They will be aggressive. But everyone's just trying to figure it out, and as a dealer now, like, Dan is working with me and we're kind of like doging our operations, and you need to, and it's, I don't think I've ever worked as hard as I have the first 45 days of the year because it's just crazy what's going on in the market. And, we really, really need to get more efficient. So yeah.
Yeah, you could say that 25 will be the year of reveals. I think is what I'm hearing out there. Surprises, and this is what's been going on. And 26 might be the year of transition.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So hold on to your whatevers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Grab your stocks and wait. That's how they go again. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll leave that one alone. All
Yeah.
right. My team had a question for you, Matthew. What's the day in the life in your service department like?
Oh, wow. As a tech, as an advisor, as a manager, as a dealer, you tell me. I mean, I just say it again.
However you wish to answer that.
I mean, I just want to let you know that, I talked about with the laying off of the IRS agents, how we are working to recruit techs, right? And everybody talks about recruiting techs. So yesterday I spent the entire day from, open to close in one of my service centers, doing one-on-ones with our techs. And if a dealer or recruiter, like everyone's like, oh, we need techs. If you just like went through the exercise that I went through yesterday, like, I don't know if we'd need that many more techs because like these guys and women are just so amazing and they have so much knowledge of everything. I mean, everything. I had one tech yesterday telling me about, I've had one store for 5 years and he's been at that store for 20 years. And, so he's been through 4 different ownership groups buying the store, and he's been there. And he was telling me like the intimate most details, and they were accurate on the performance of the stores under different ownership groups. I think like, you need more techs. Like they have the capacity to be as efficient as we let them with the proper tools. So I don't know. This is like fresh in mind. I was just blown away about my day. It was one of the best days I've had in a dealership in years. And I just felt great because like I had a preconceived notion that I need techs. And after speaking to these techs, like they're all willing to do whatever it takes to bring as much work in, get the work done, fix it right the first time, have a great customer experience, use technology, use tablets, use video walkarounds. We're installing a UVI machine in our drive. Like they're super psyched on that. And all it took was like a day of just communicating and having conversations with people. And I think as like, I talked about like Dan and I are doging our operations and like trying to find efficiency. I think it just starts with like doing one-on-ones and talking to people and, asking them like, if you had a magic wand, what would you like us to see? Like what stupid stuff do we do on a daily basis? What frustrates you the most? It was incredible. It was incredible because now it's like, maybe I should take that ad down offering, relocation bonus, sign-on bonus, tool bonus, car allowance, come be a tech and just like work with the team that you have and really drive them. A couple of things that are out of my control that I'm like fighting with is, a lot of the manufacturers, they make it so difficult to get these guys trained. And then dealers also, and I spoke to Dan about this, dealers also like are always gaming the system, and we're not putting all our techs in to the manufacturer's portal because it flags different rules. Like you go from a large dealer to an extra large dealer, and then your training bill goes up tenfold. So the dealers want to keep these guys out of the system. And then, they've been working in a store for 3 years, but they're ghosts and they're nowhere near getting certified because we're afraid. And then like, you want to fast track some training for techs. Like right now we're trying to fast track some training for techs, but all the manufacturer cares about is getting like this new car that's coming out a year from now, getting that class done and taken care of when we have cars that are on the road that need help and the techs need training. And we can't get them enrolled in class because the only class available is this future car that's going to not sell for like 2 years. So, yeah, that's my fix ops. I could go anywhere. Like I could just keep going on and on and on about fix ops and because it's I came up through variable, and I'm sure you guys all came up through variable. Like, man, if any of my kids want to get in the business, they're coming up through fixed. Fixed is like the greatest thing, especially for a variable guy when they understand it. It is like the greatest thing ever. I mean, it's like a gross machine, and there's so much volume and there's so much opportunity. And I am not even close to being an expert when it comes to fixed, but man, the opportunity is there.
I got my start in fix, and I was in fix for probably about 5 years. And even to this day, because it was many, many years ago, it's still given me sort of an edge because, I worked intimately with the mechanics throughout the whole department, the parts department, everything. It definitely gives you an edge in knowing how the back end operates. So then when you are at the front end, I don't know, you know what to expect. You know where some of the downfalls. So I don't know, you can, not sure how to say it. You can get a much better perspective of what's happening.
The crazy mix that I've always wanted to see happen is you do need that variable mindset, that creativity, because the difference between the back and the front is binary. So on the front end, it's not yes or no. Like you're painting the world gray. How do I make this customer give me a yes? Like I'm never going to accept a no. So yes, 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 yes. Make it gray. Never answer like a very direct question, like all that kind of stuff, and work the psychological end of the customer. Whereas in the back, it's ones and zeros. It's broken or it isn't, and it's really straightforward. It's black and white. And if you can marry those two mindsets and be able to take that psychological sales approach into the service drive and help upsell customers and all the things that make the service gross that much higher, that's something I've always thought service was lacking, just because they're a black and white type of mentality back there. So if you can bring that thought to it, Matthew, you could
that goes to the parts department as well.
Yeah.
Dan is like a fixed guru. So Dan, how do you comment?
I mean, we always talk about like we invented the silos, we invented different language, right? Even the concept of time, right? If tell anybody in variable that like, look, you can go out and do this video, you can do it in like 2/10 and have it uploaded. I don't know what you're talking about. The concept of time is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's right. I mean, and that's common language, and it's just there to just think about why do so it's like we need to understand how they think about time. From a sales perspective, one of the things we did was always making sure that advisors got sales training, and advisors are salespeople. There's people over there that sell the whole car. There's people in the back, they sell parts of the car, and then there's people here that sell the ownership of the car. And you're selling. And now the difference is like, and I was joking about this with one of Matt's fixed managers today. I was like, I don't know, like however many years ago when I stumbled into Green P and somebody said like, you go to the sales department and be a Green P and learn how to be a salesperson. I don't know why they decided that. Cause like years later, before I took over a store and I learned about fixed, I was like, this is this is payment packing in variable. You're calling it a grid? I love this, right? Like, so the same thing, just different language and how it's set up. But advisors, you come up in the world as an advisor, you're given a list of opportunities per car. And whatever you get from that list of recommendations, you're getting paid on. And whatever the industry average is, if you're closing, 33% of them, after pre-writes, you're doing a phenomenal job. So at a third of the things that are available, like you're doing a good job, you're getting paid, and you should be, if you're an advisor, you're getting paid very nicely to do that. But as a salesperson, you don't get anything until you sell the whole thing. Like you have a car to sell, you don't get paid on anything until you sell the car. The car is what pays you. And an advisor doesn't have that whole bag kind of mentality. So they don't look at it as like, I need everything that's on this. I need to get everything that's on this. And then you develop, then there's like anything, you develop biases and prejudices and, thoughts about, like, I don't need a transmission service here. I don't need a spark plug service, and then we think we're doing people a favor and we say like, this is something we'll look at next time. And maybe we do look at it next time. Maybe we don't, I don't know. But it's like, instead of looking at it and saying, so if I took a salesperson and said, if I said the only way you get paid is you sell everything on the text recommendations, that's how you get paid. Then what does that look like differently, just from the prospect of how do we look at selling from an advisor versus a salesperson, or from a variable to a fixed, right? And so those are things that they need to help understand, that there's ways to, if your salespeople do or don't, hopefully they do, but if your salespeople know how to overcome objections, if your salespeople know what to do when someone says, I need to talk to my spouse, and the answer is not, by the way, can we call her? Or him, then, do advisors know the same thing? And if salespeople know how to break things down into payments, then hopefully your service department has a 0%, some type of a firm or other that they're offering. So do advisors know how to talk about that? And because you're still selling, and all the same things about how you have to build value, how you have to understand your client's needs. I want to know, how do you expect the vehicle? I know how the vehicle should perform the way the manufacturer designed it. If that's what we're going with, then great. Otherwise, but also then I need you to tell me like what your expectations are for when this vehicle comes out of service. What is it that, make sure that it operates beyond your standards also, and have, so you understand the client, you understand the building, the value in it. I can remember just an anecdotal story. It's like, I was looking at closing reports, and it was like, we shouldn't even stock spark plugs at our Mercedes store, Jeff, because like we never did one on a service. Like it could be on every recommended 60,000 mile service, and it just never happened. Right. So I went down to the shop, and I think every shop probably has the technician who believes that they are on assignment from the manufacturer, They're on special assignment from the home country. They're the home office. They are there simply. They're doing a favor to you as they're being there to actually work for the manufacturer. And they are the Britannica. They know everything. And so this perfect guy to go to. And I said, dude, tell me about spark plugs. And he's like, oh, I'm actually doing one right now. I was like, oh, it's the one we sold. He's like, well, it's really important. I'm like, do tell. He's like, okay, well, so you see how our spark plugs are made out of metal. You see how they're grooved. And what the manufacturer is saying is that after 60,000 miles, estimating it's going to be this many times it's fired up, that it begins to erode. And not that anything's going to happen at 60,000 miles, but that's what they're guaranteed to work towards without any severe disfiguration. They know that the more you're starting the car, the more it's going to start to erode. And eventually this could lead to a misfire. So I went back, and I'm like, I like knowing this kind of stuff, but there's no shot I could do that. If you see me in your shop with like a wrench near a car, something really awful has happened and worse about to happen, right? So I'm not the guy to do it, but I can understand it. So
spark plugs.
I'm sold. I need to go get spark plugs.
Yeah.
But I go back to the advisors and I'm like, you guys really don't sell spark plugs, right? And it's, it's about an $800 service. I need you to go down and talk to this tech and ask him simply, like, tell me why spark plugs are important. And just making that connection inside service between the advisors and the technicians, not only then the technicians knew that, like, now I can, when I'm recommending this, I actually have a shot that you're going to sell it because you understand that it's important. You can build the value in it, which does a lot to build the trust between techs and advisors. But two, obviously, it built up the understanding from the advisors, so then they could explain it, right? And then, so yeah, then for that reason and others, and I had great advisors, and these were great guys, and they were then selling a lot of spark plugs. And then we needed to focus on something else too, right? But it's like that type of understanding about the why and why that's important to me, to you, the client. Anything that's at the CO that always said, if it's good for the client, it's good for the associate, and it's good for the enterprise, it's absolutely a no-brainer. So align those things and have them understand that. And I think it's just a little bit smoother sailing for when they see that coming up. And I can't say enough to anything you can do to encourage the relationship of trust from the technician who's looking at the car and the advisor who's relaying the information to the client. Like, anything you can do to improve that trust will reward you endlessly.
And of course, go ahead and record that on video and upload it to TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And that too, right? I mean, absolutely. And that's a great TikTok video, right? Here's why we're doing spark plugs. You might not think that a car with 62,000 miles on it needs spark plugs, but here's why we recommend it. See the spark plug,
Well, and look at that is one of the most complicated services because you've got to fix all the timing and the distance between part. It's just, you can mess a car up bad if you don't get that right.
I messed it up at opening the hood
at the dealer.
That's why you should. That's why you should do it at the dealer and don't try. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. How many service departments have tow-ins from the I tried to fix it myself cars?
Especially on spark plugs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, we know you got to catch a plane.
I do. Yes. To be on it, and hopefully land right side up and all that good stuff.
Yes. Yeah. You're flying to Ohio, not Toronto, so you got that going for you.
Don't jinx it now.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. Let me blab. I appreciate it. This was great, Matt. I'll come and bang on your door on the way up.
Good. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for doing this. Fantastic. Yeah. Good seeing you guys.
We'd love to see
Thanks,
you
guys.
both
I appreciate
again.
it.
Yep.
Anytime. Thanks, guys.
See ya.